This is a new Audi A6 and it's a little bit like Airbnb. Now let me explain. Basically, you can get 5-star luxury but for less cash. See, it's essentially the same as an Audi A8, just smaller and not quite so expensive. And you're probably going to be considering one of these if you're also looking at a BMW 5 Series or a Mercedes E-Class. Let's start this review by talking about the A6's design. Now I think it's quite a smart looking car and it's very distinctive with this huge Audi grille. It's got like shiny bits of trim on it as well. Because this is the S-Line version, it has a sportier bumper, and when you move around the sides it also has 19-inch alloy wheels, whereas the entry-level car has 18 inches. The S-Line also has lowered stiffened suspension, so it's sitting slightly lower to the ground, makes it look a bit meaner. One of the things I really like about the A6 is this rear haunch, where it sticks out. It's kind of like a Quattro from the 80s. And at the back, it's quite pretty as well. You've got this like metallic grille there. And once again, the S-Line has rated rear bumpers, which are just a bit sportier. One thing I'm not so sure about with this car though, is this blue color, which kind of just looks black to me, but yeah, it's my only criticism really. Now, here on the inside, you've got the usual Audi loveliness. I like the design of this dash, the way you have this big black panel here, and then when you turn the car on, the screens, they suddenly pop out and it all looks very, very cool. Quality wise, this is plasticky, that's metallic, so that's quite nice. Up on the dash, you've got leatherette with stitched effect, and you've got it up here as well. And the quality of the materials is really good, so you've got nice material here. It all feels super solid. It's not even scratchy down here on the lower door. It's not quite as soft though as on a Mercedes E-Class, and I have found one really cheap bit of plastic in this car. It's here, listen. It's the only bit, but that is horrible. Not that you're ever going to touch there. And the layout is super simple. You've got your gear lever there, you've got your car controls here, you've got your main infotainment system here, there's your light controls here on this little touch panel, like this metallic effects here, you've got little metallic bits on the switches. All the controls feel robust and expensive. Steering wheel's lovely as well, and seating position's good. So you have so much adjustment in the steering wheel. So I do say that in a lot of cars, but this is, I mean, look at that. That's especially a lot of adjustment. And the seat, let's do a seat test. See how far this can go back. If you're really tall, look, I'm stretching out. I can't now touch the pedals. You're gonna have really long legs to not be able to get comfy in this Audi. And look, there's lots of headroom here in the front. So even if you're tall, yeah, you're gonna be fine. And if you're short, you can jack it up quite a way to get a decent view over the bonnet. Also, if you've got really long thighs, you can extend the seat base like that. Now, let's talk about the infotainment system. So you get dual screens, and it's now only operated by a touchscreen. It does vibrate when you press it though, so you know that you've hit a button. The graphics and everything on it are pretty sharp though. It's really nice, and it's reasonably responsive as well. You can whiz through menus, and the actual navigation itself is very easy to program, and it does find pretty decent routes. You can get internet connectivity with newsfeed, and you can use Google Maps for the satellite navigation. Also, you can get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can just run your phone's maps through the system if you want to, though you don't get such widescreen view, and it can't be displayed in the virtual cockpit either. If you want to control your climate, it's all down here on this other touchscreen. Once again, it vibrates when you touch it, but it's just not as easy as quickly turning a dial, which is a bit frustrating. You do have voice commands. I'm cold.
What temperature would you like to set?
So it will respond to kind of more natural instructions, but it's still not great. It's not the best system. One thing I do like about the Audi though is the virtual cockpit, the way you can like scroll through the different menus and stuff like that. And it's all very nice, and you can change the view as well from big dials to small dials. However, that is not standard. Speaking of which, let's talk about the equipment levels you get with the A6. The A6 range starts with the sports model, and here's a quick rundown of its kit. You get a high definition reversing camera plus front and rear parking sensors. There's cruise control, lane departure warning, and something called pre-sense front, which actually monitors the vehicles in front of you and will warn if you're about to have an accident. Leather seats come as standard, and they're heated in the front. Meanwhile, S-Line versions add a sports steering wheel with perforated leather, brushed matte aluminium inlays, and body-hugging sports seats with electrical adjustment. There are a couple of option packs which I recommend. The first is the Tour Pack, which includes a clever cruise control system which will automatically brake to keep you a safe distance from the car in front and will steer to keep you in lane. It even works in traffic jams. Does cost £2,000 though. The second is the technology pack. Now that's 1,500 quid and it includes a larger screen, so you get a 10-inch screen rather than an 8-inch screen up here. Also you get a faster processor and you get a full digital driver's display rather than just two analog dials with a smaller screen in between them. Finally, let's talk about interior space here in the front. So you have absolutely massive door bins. I mean, look at this. That is a 1.5 litre bottle and it fits, no problem at all. You also have some storage under here for a couple of cup holders. One thing I do like is this, look, you've got storage for the key as well. Now, I can fit a coffee cup in there. It's fine, that's a big coffee cup. But if you have the smaller coffee cup, the way this sticks up means that when you push it down, you can just end up lifting the lid off your coffee cup and then it could just spill everywhere and that'd just be dreadful. I mean, what a first world problem that is. Under here, there's not that much room either. This car's got the wireless charging pad and you've got two USB inputs there as well. And there's a 12-volt socket there if you want to charge some of the mobile devices. Underneath here, there is a glove box, which is quite deep. It's an all right size, that glove box. And there's some extra little storage down here where you can put something and forget about it. Let's move on to the back. So, the A6 has decent sized doors, so it's not too difficult to get in. And as you can see, there is lots of knee room. And this seat is my usual driving position. I'm 179 centimetres and I've got loads of headroom. People over 6 foot will be fine back here. This seat is actually in its lowest position. I can still just about squeeze my feet underneath it to stretch out. If it's raised, it's even better. And the seat base is quite deep as well, so it's quite good for under thigh support. Now, when it comes to carrying 3 at once in the back, yes, there's this big hump which you have to like lift your leg over, but the footwells are big enough so there's absolutely plenty of space. And even though, look, this centre seat is raised up, I've still got enough headroom. In fact, for carrying 3 in the back at once, this is better than a BMW 5 Series. It's better than a Mercedes E-Class. Speaking of which, when it comes to fitting child seats, it's really easy as well. So you can easily locate the child seat because you've got exposed ISOFIX anchor points. There's plenty of space to manoeuvre the seat as well. And with 2 seats here in the back, you can just about squeeze someone in the middle seat. It's not the most comfortable, but what you could do is move one of the seats to the front passenger seat because that has ISOFIX anchor points too. So all very, very practical. You've got an armrest here to like rest stuff on, a little storage cubby under there. And you can actually lower this if you want to carry longer items. There's some extra storage here. However, if you have a higher specification car, that is actually controls for the rear climate control system. There's a 12-volt socket there for charging a mobile device. Saying there's not 2 because you could have up to 3 people in the back wanting to charge. These nets on the seat backs though aren't very good. They're a bit flimsy, but they are still strong enough to hold your iPad securely in place. You've got some decent sized door bins as well. Look, you can fit a little bottle back here. The back window is quite large. The ledge isn't too high, so kids can see out, but look, will the window go all the way down? No, not quite, but it's not terrible. I do like this though. Look, you've got one coat hook there, but you wouldn't want the coat there if you're obviously sat in the back, but there's another one there as well. Finally then, let's just check. Rear lights, good position, and the LEDs, keeping with that modern theme yet again. Let's move on to the boot. So far so good. I'm really impressed actually with this A6. Now, the boot capacity is exactly the same as a BMW 5 Series at 530 litres, and to help you visualise that, it's 106 of these. However, Mercedes E-Class's boot is 10 litres larger, so 2 of these. But still, look, you've got a really square, wide opening for a saloon-style boot, not much of a load lip either, so it is actually easy to load and unload for this type of car. You'll easily fit a baby buggy in there, set of golf clubs, no problem at all. You can easily fit a couple of suitcases in there and some soft bags. There's a little bit of extra storage under here around this kind of what would be the spare wheel if you want one of those. That's actually a subwoofer for the stereo. And you've got some storage here. There's tie-down hooks and they feel very expensive, made out of metal, very tough. There's a 12-volt socket there as well if you wanted to carry something like a drinks cooler in the boot. Now, if you want to carry longer items, you walk around to the back seats and you can fold them down and they do split as well. And then you've got quite a long load area. You can just slide things through into the cabin there like that if you want to. And you can fit a bike in there, no problem at all. So yeah, this is a very practical, stylish car. It's got a lot going for it.
However, this car isn't perfect. Here's 5 annoying things about it.
When you're driving along and it's sunny, you get terrible reflections just flickering away in the black trim down there. It's almost like I'm tripping. And you shouldn't have had those dodgy mushrooms for lunch. Unless you want your A6 in either plain white or plain black, you're going to have to pay at least £685 for a different paint colour. There's this little configurable button here on the steering wheel, and you can choose what it does, and it's mainly to do with stuff for the satellite navigation system. However, on RS cars, the performance versions, you can also use it to configure the driving mode button, so you don't have to look all the way down here to press it. Not on the normal cars though, which is annoying. This car has some of the worst fake exhaust tips. I mean, I can even illustrate them from 180 degrees with my new carwow curved stick of truth. Look, yeah, it's lies. It's all lies. Look at this, right? See that black panel? Well, you would expect some cup holders to pop out of there, and they do, if you pay an extra £100 for the storage pack. If you don't, you can't have them. That's just ridiculous. £100, what is the point?
It's not all negative though. Here's 5 good things about this car.
The Navigation Plus system works in conjunction with the car's headlights, so the car actually knows when you're going round a bend and it will angle the headlights accordingly. You can get the A6 with rear wheel steering, and that turns the rear wheels in the opposite direction of the front at lower speeds to help make it turn sharper. Yeah, this car doesn't have it. That's why I'm having to do a 3-point turn rather than a U-turn. 6-cylinder cars have a 48-volt electrical system and mild hybrid technology. So when you're braking, it actually recoups that lost energy and charges up a battery, then uses that battery to power a small electric motor so that you can coast at speeds between 34 miles an hour and 99 miles an hour when you lift off the accelerator. And apparently that saves up to 1 litre of fuel every 88 miles, which is about £1.30. You can set up to 6 different user profiles for the car, and it will remember your favourite seating position, the music you like to listen to, and which routes you like to take for the sat-nav. The Audi Connect security system allows you to track your car and even disable it remotely by using an Audi app on your phone. You can have a bit of fun with that if you lend the car to somebody and you just want to lock them out for a bit of a laugh. Okay, then let's talk about the engines. So at the moment in the UK, there are only 2, and they're both diesels. So the one in this car is the 40 TDI, which is actually a 2-litre 4-cylinder diesel with around 204 horsepower and can do 0 to 60 in just over 8 seconds, and it comes with a 7-speed automatic gearbox as standard. Then there's the 3-litre V6 diesel in the 50 TDI, and that has 286 horsepower and can do 0 to 60 in just under 6 seconds, and that has an 8-speed automatic gearbox. Eventually some more engines will be added to the lineup, including a 3-litre V6 petrol. So this A6 has the sportier S-line suspension, which means that it's not quite so good over bumps, but still, it's not a problem. If I was buying this car, I'd deselect the sportier suspension, just go for the normal one because it's even more comfortable. And even on this broken surface, this more sporty suspension is still doing an all right job. It's not too fidgety. Another thing I like are the brakes, so they're nice and predictable. You don't have to press them too hard and it stops well, but it's not too jerky. What is a bit jerky though is a 7-speed automatic gearbox. It can be when you're like manoeuvring such as this. What I do like though is that the steering is nice and light, so it's easy to manoeuvre. I only wish the car would automatically lower its door mirror so you could see the curves, so you don't curb those alloy wheels. You might be able to get that on the A6, but it'll no doubt be an optional extra. All the camera and parking sensors helping out. The rear window is a decent size, but because this is a saloon car, you can't see very low down, so you absolutely have to rely on sensors and the camera. And after a few manoeuvres, kind of done. Anyway, let's get out of here. It's time to see how easy it is to navigate this thing through traffic and round roundabouts. So let's see if I can make it round this mini roundabout. I'm going to take quite a wide berth because I know this car doesn't have the best turning circle. Oh, am I going to make it? This is close. I'm just going to grip my teeth and hope I don't curb the wheel. If you're doing a lot of this kind of driving, spend the money, get that rear wheel steering system because it does just make this thing more manoeuvrable. Got away with that. This car is great on the motorway, so it feels secure and settled at speed. It's reasonably quiet, it's comfy. And let's say you need to overtake, well, let's just try it now from 60 to 70. Put my foot down. This automatic gearbox, 7-speed in the 2-litre diesel. It's not the fastest to respond, but then it does take off pretty well, and this engine's got decent pulling power, and it's quite quiet as well. Economy-wise from this engine, not bad either, so 44 miles per gallon, that'll do. Get out onto a twisty road such as this, and this A6 can really hold its own. Now, I'll admit that the steering isn't the most responsive, so you do have to turn it a bit to get the car going round, but then this thing grips and goes round and it stays nice and flat. It's fairly impressive really around the bends. However, because this car is front wheel drive, it never feels as sporty as the rear drive BMW 5 Series. To be fair though, you can get this car with all-wheel drive and then it does seem a little bit more sporty, but still, yeah, the BMW is more fun to drive if that's what you're interested in. So then, what's my verdict on this car? Should you avoid it? Should you consider it? Should you shortlist it? Or should you just go right ahead and buy it? Well, I reckon you should just go right ahead and buy the Audi A6. It really is an excellent car.